Welcome back. Mike is here.
Thanks for having me this morning on this weekend edition of the show. Glad to be here.
Of course, I will start on a cherry note where Team Nigeria made history by winning the first edition of the West African Para Games held in Abeokuta, Ogun State. Talking about Team Nigeria, they dominated the competition with an overwhelming medal haul. Mike, after 6 days of compelling action, Nigeria emerged first on the medals table with a whooping 59 gold medals, 39 of medals in silver color, while 31 were in bronze color. Unprecedented, I must say.
Definitely, for a first edition of a such game taking place back here in our own backyard, I think the para-athletes did their own job by making sure that they are able to create history and record for themselves because, just like you said, this is unprecedented. Next edition, I am not sure that any other country that will be hosting will definitely rack up this number of medals. You can see the difference that the second position was just won 4 gold, which is far cry to what Team Nigeria won. So I think for me it was a great one, hosting and winning, not just winning but winning in a grand style where they almost picked up all available medals. I think for me it's an encouraging one, and the skills and the output of our para-athletes over the years have never been in doubt. They always, hold their own very strong whenever they represent the country.
Para-athletes have won more medals than the able-bodied athletes here in Nigeria in the history of sports, and they continue to dominate. We've seen them there. Talking about para-athletes, there was a para-football event in the final, and Team Nigeria as well beat their counterparts with the gold medal.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said earlier, I think they almost won every available medals in showcase in that very one. So I think we'll continue to see how Nigeria will continue to fare. But just like he posited, the Nigerian para-athlete, they've always, been at the top compared to their, able-bodied counterpart. The big talking point was what should be the reward of this para-athlete this time around, because we've seen, the reward system weighing it side by side with that of their able-bodied counterpart is not enough. So I think taking a look at the success and glory that they are bringing to the country, there is need for more motivation for these para-athletes.
Benin Republic came second with 4 gold, 4 silver, and 14 bronze medals. We saw Ghana with the third place position after amassing only 3 gold medals, 15 silver, and 21 bronze medals. Cameroon and Ivory Coast completed the top 5 and 5th position respectively. I would say congratulations to the African countries that were at the Para Games, and hope that by the second edition there will be more spectacular achievements and, of course, feats accomplished at the Para Games. Team Nigeria, like we told you there, were the overall winners with a whooping nearly 60 medals overall. We say congratulations to them, and of course the National Sports Commission as well for putting up what have been described as a history-making feat there. In fact, President of the Paralympic Committee, Sunday Debode, is in cloud 9 because he expressed profound gratitude to the President of the country, Bola Tinubu, for supporting people living with disabilities through the National Sports Commission there. So kudos, especially to the members of the local organizing committee for putting up a beautiful show that led to medal hauls by the respective teams at the contingent. Meanwhile, we're still looking at how Nigeria performed there. There was a dominant performance in the shooting event as well, Mike, at the inaugural West African Paralympic Games in Abeokuta.
Yeah, impressive one for the shooting event, though it's not one of the sports that, we have that strong, foothold, but then it is something, welcoming that we are also beginning to show our strength and skills in that area of shooting event as well. I think the president, has been doing a lot. Last year he talked about the fact that they are setting a target for themselves, and it looks as though that target is gradually coming to fruition. So we see how they can build up from this very impressive start.
Well, we congratulate the team effort as well. Now let's get to cricket, and Nigeria is in cloud 9 because they began their West African Trophy campaign on a bright note with a 19-run victory over Zambia in Abuja yesterday. This is cricket, the oldest sport here in Nigeria, and there has been a resurgence in our performances, Mike.
Yeah, I think it's been one of the sports that at least we can say that the president has been doing a lot since he came on board. I think we've had, some positive result coming in from the cricket team. All right, despite the fact that we failed to qualify for the IT20, World Cup coming up next year, but then I think there have been a lot of improvement, and I think at this point there is need for we to keep, in track with some of these young stars, the likes of Sylvester Okpe and their brother out there. I think they've been doing the country proud. Whenever they go out there, they try to do their best. So I think it's a great start for the cricket team of Nigeria in this maiden edition.
Team Nigeria, the cricket event, will be in action later today. I think they have Sierra Leone to contend with. Sierra Leone lost to Rwanda, and that will be a wonderful performance coming from Team Nigeria if we can get their second win at the Games.
Definitely, Sierra Leone, they will be coming up like a wounded lion, having lost their first game. So they will want to put up a human's job against Team Nigeria. But then I believe with the quality and talent that the Team Nigeria has, I'm sure they are going to, of course, continue their winning streak. But then one thing is certain, that it's going to be a very tough game.
Well, let's get back to some interesting stories. It has to do with the 7-time Olympian champion Funake Shinake, who has pledged to represent Nigeria and Africa with pride at the International Olympic Committee. Recently, there was an Atlas Commission set up, and we've seen one of Nigeria's brightest, Shinake, if you remember her, as nominated as a member of the International Olympic Committee.
Yeah, I think you need people like this within the corridor of, that sport for we to move ahead, because Funko Shanaike is a household name when you talk about table tennis right here in the country, the continent, and beyond. So you need people that truly have the vested knowledge of, what sport is all about to man a position of decision making and to contribute their own quotas on how you can chart a course forward for the betterment of the sport. You could also recall that she has attended the Olympic Games about 7 good times, and with such a massive experience, it is very, very timely that she's appointed as one of the decision maker. I think it's a good one at 50. She's still young, and I think she has a lot to offer administratively. Don't forget, since she retired, she has been, part of the Nigerian table tennis board and a whole lot of other things. So I think we need such person.
Shinake, 7 times Olympic champion from 1996 to Tokyo 2020. She had been always a representative of Nigeria, especially in the table tennis event. Some African countries as well, Ivory Coast and others, were on the Olympic Commission, Alex Olympic Commission as well.
Yeah, I think Africans is good. The International Olympic Commission, maybe they are also trying to take a look at, maybe you call it federal character, where they are trying to balance the formation of the composition of how the organization is set up. You need to, of course, take a look at a holistic appointment in terms of the movement of the game, so that to ensure equality and balancing in all countries and the region, and then, of course, all continents as well. They must all be brought to table, because sport is global.
Sports, no doubt, a global event, and other countries, most of the countries have to be involved in the way it is being administered. Let's quickly now go to Formula One, and London Norris is in the news. He says he cannot envisage a situation in which he will request teammate Oscar Piastri to let him through in Abu Dhabi as the Formula One title gets at its title race gets at its peak. Mike, London Norris this season has so far shown that yes, he is a top driver, but can he carry Piastri along?
Carrying Piastri along, at this point where it is a very sensitive point, it's about the finishing line of this year's race.
So you think he can let go for his
No. I think this has been the issue. Sometimes these drivers, they just try to maintain their cool and keep quiet, because it's like you and I are, in the same, constructor, and you are in the first position. Maybe probably I'm third, and another constructor is closely following you at the back to make second. Then, at the almost point of finishing, you just receive a call from your team that you should slow down so that I overtake. And I've done that once. I've done that twice. At this time where it's almost looking like, it's a finishing touch, he has come out plain to say no, he's not going to allow that to happen. I think for me, it's going to be a good one. And I think if their team, all right, give such an instruction at this point in time, then you know that they are the one that shot themselves on the foot, because you cannot give such chance to a driver, an opponent such as Max Verstappen, that we know how tricky, we know how smart, we know how dangerous, we know how slicky it could be on the grid out there. So for me, I think he's making the right statement to let the authority know that at this time around, even if I'm called, I will not stop. I'm going to continue to finish my race. And of course, he has not won any Formula One championship. This will be the first time that British man is going to win it, and he's having 12 points lead, and you don't expect him to lower down his guard just because he wants to carry his team mate along, and at the end of it all, he goes on to lose the drivers' championship. So I think all is set, and all these three drivers are potential champion as we speak, because he's topping Max Verstappen with 12 points, then topping his teammate with 16 points. So if he get to finish within the podium, just call it third. And I think this time around he's going to win it, but then he must watch out for Max Verstappen.
Well, talking about Max Verstappen, no doubt one of the top drivers, of course the drivers right now, the informed driver, if you ask me, of Formula One. Meanwhile, from Formula One, let's quickly go to tennis, because there's a big news happening right now in the world of tennis globally. And Natasha Potapova has switched nationality from Russia to Austria. Application for citizenship was accepted. This is what could be the reason for this top Russian athlete to want to go to Russia?
It's very simple. The ban to Russian athlete has made it very difficult. Russian sport, men and women, has made it very difficult for some of those, professional sport men and women to start thinking of switching allegiance. And Anasimova was also affected because she couldn't take part in the last Billie Jean Cup because of the ban to Russia. So, and the age is also not on her side, and there is no any sign at all that this ban could be lifted anytime soon. And you don't want some of these sportsmen to continue wasting their precious age while also, not being allowed to participate in some of the major sporting events to which they have chosen as a professional career. So I think for me, there is need, and I see reason with her, changing and switching allegiance, which has been accepted successfully.
Talking about shifting the nationality from Russia to any other country by the top athletes, and Natasha was involved in one as well recently? Definitely.
That is what I said earlier, that most of their sportsmen and women are doing that line of trying to keep their professional career on track, because you don't want to wait for thine kingdom come when the ban will be lifted. And who knows when the ban will be lifted, and you can't keep wasting your age in sports, because age, you cannot reverse it back. If you take 5 years out of the possible age that you have right now as a sportsman and woman, it could be very difficult for you to, return or reverse that age back so that you can start competing at the highest level. So I think for me, it's timely one for her.
Very timely, no doubt about it. And we just hope that the Russian authorities will begin to understand why their top athletes are leaving and make amends as well in the global community. We have to wrap up this half of the show with the latest coming from the world of basketball. And the NBA is in action. In the early hours of this morning, we saw some top games. 76ers from Philadelphia beat the Golden State Warriors by just 1 point. 99 to 98 points it ended, Mike.
Yeah, it was a game that was soaked of tension. It was more like a display of the top basketball players out there, as every player's averaged almost 10-point-something point and about 3-point-something rebounds, some 5-point-something rebound in that game. So I think it was a game that was full of techniques and tactics, and at the end of it all, Seven Stars came top in that very one. Although to some persons it was a shocking result, but then it is what it is. When two top teams meet out there in the NBA, you expect such a game.
Talking about early hours matches in the NBA this morning, we saw Boston Celtics traveled away to Washington and, of course, did beat the Wizards by 146 points to 101 points. And then the Brooklyn Nets lost at home as well. Utah Jazz went to Brooklyn and beat them by 123 points to 110 points. Toronto Raptors was another home loser because LA Lakers beat them by 120 points to 123 points. Lakers showing their stuff this season.
Definitely, I think they need to continue to wax strong, but then they have Oklahoma City Thunders who are also thundering this time around, but then they just need to focus on their own game plan and see how it goes at the end of the season.
The Wolves from Minnesota traveled all the way to New Orleans, and the Pelicans were completely showered because they lost 106 points to 125 to the Wolves from Timberwolves from Minnesota. What is going on?
I think it's just the game. Even Minnesota Timberwolves this season hasn't been at the top of their game as well.
But the Pelicans as well, you expect them to at least to make some strong inroads?
The Pelicans Stars, I think this season the Eastern Conference, they have been very poor as well. You take a look at their standing on the table out there, it's not encouraging. So I knew it that they were going to struggle in that particular game.
Talking about Minnesota Timberwolves getting the better of the Pelicans out there. Let's quickly now take a break. When we return from the break, there will be a lot more to talk about, especially in football, where for Nigeria, the Super Eagles captain, yes, has retired from international football. And beyond that, FIFA has extended, let's say, the date when players are expected to resume camping for the African Cup of Nations. So CAF, in conjunction with FIFA now, has given a new international date when players are expected to resume. And this, of course, will affect the performances. That's a resumption date of the African team. Super Eagles inclusive as well. And across the Premier League, Manchester United dropped 2 points last night. And I think this is some points they will live to regret as the season progresses in the English Premier League. Details of this and many more football stories are yours when we return from the break. Welcome back, and it's Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. And earlier on, we told you how Team Nigeria came tops at the Para Games held at Abeokuta, amongst several other African countries. Now, let's get to football. And talking about football, there has been a major development with the national team, the Super Eagles of Nigeria, because its captain, Truce Ekong, has retired from international football. Mike, with few days to the 2025 African Cup of Nations, Captain Truce Ekong has retired from international football, meaning he will no longer be part of action on the pitch for the Super Eagles of Nigeria.
I think the disappointment of failure to qualify for the World Cup, I can tell you for sure, is part of the reason why he had to, make a change about his future to retire at this point. Because if the Super Eagles had qualified for the World Cup, I can assure you that Truce Ekong wouldn't have resigned. But then the disappointment of not qualifying for the World Cup is one of the key factors which has compelled him to resign. But then he was just waiting for that timely moment where at least, all eyes would be open for him to, declare this retirement statement. Because one would have said after that, World Cup disappointment, he should have, decided to retire at that point. But then he was waiting patiently. And of course, when the team list for the African Cup of Nations came out, where all eyes were, wide open, then he dropped the bombshell. So I think for me, he has served the country meritoriously since 2015, almost 10 years, a decade. I think he's done pretty well, and we just wish him, happy retirement and wish him well in his next endeavors.
Talking about the man who has scored 8 international goals for Nigeria, and several appearances at the African Cup of Nations. He was at the World Cup as well?
Yeah, definitely. In 2018, he was there. I think he's paid his dues, no doubt. He's paid his dues. It doesn't come easy for a defender to score 8 goals. He played key roles. He was a very great leader as the captain of the national team. So I think, like I said, wish him a happy retirement.
Happy retirement to the man you see on your screen there, Captain Truce Ekong. 54 players have been invited to camp of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. He was one of them. Now, I think he will make the job of the handlers easier.
Definitely. I think he will make it easier. Now the coach knows who is to stand as, the defensive wall. Now that he has retired, I think that place will be very, very sensitive on who is going to partner Calvin Bassey, at this point, whether it is Benjamin, and if Benjamin is not 100% okay, who is going to partner Calvin Bassey in that, defensive framework. So I think the coach has been, doing his best as well. So he has time right now to see how he can be able to reshuffle that defensive line and see who is going to fit for who to partner each other.
Talk about reshuffling. Confederation of African Football, in conjunction with FIFA, has shifted dates for resumption of players from across the leagues in Europe. It's no longer the 10th. Now it is the 15th. Club sites across Europe, I think he had made some complaints, and somehow they have been granted some reprieve, 5 more days for their players to be used in their respective club site, meaning that FIFA may now enforce players resuming on the 15th of December. Following that, Super Eagles resumption date has been shifted from 10th to the 14th as well of December, Mike, for the African Cup of Nations preparations.
Yeah, I think the shifting of date for players, for clubs to release their player, yeah. I think that, agreement was struck between CAF and the World Governing Football Body. Why? Because the club side in Europe had also lodged their complaint as well, and of course maybe CAF were able to see reasons and they had to struck that deal. But for me, I think it's not a good one for national teams, ahead of this African Cup of Nations. On the 15th, if players are being released by their club side on the 15th, the African Cup of Nations Cup start on the 21st. In less than a week, just call it 6 days. That is where players will come to camp which time would they have to blend, to gel, to get that chemistry, to understand each other? So for me, I think it's going to affect African nation. But then we must also take a look at the other side of it, that CAF, if we had aligned our calendar properly in a way and manner that it will not affect some of these European clubs, I don't think there will be need for this, because at this crucial time, December and January, it is when leagues is being won and lost, especially in the top 5 leagues in Europe, because that is the moment where if you drop point, then you know that you are going to probably drop down the pecking order. So, and the African Cup of Nations is being hosted, and their players will leave at that point in time where they needed them most. And this is why the clubs have been complaining. So I think for me, take a look at it in the other way around. I think the club side, they are also right in their own claim as well, because they pay the bills, the higher bills of these players weekly. They pay in pounds. So you definitely need your player at a crucial moment, such as December and January, to rack up points. But this is the time that these players will be leaving. Some clubs have as much as 3 players from the African route, some 4, some 5. So I think this is just a problem. But then, however it is, I believe we should get used to it until time comes where we try to realign our calendar to match up with others. Because even the Euros, they've fixed it in a time where the leagues are almost off in Europe, and this is why it does not affect them. So I think this is what we should also look at, talking about CAF.
Change of dates of resumption of international players to their respective countries ahead of the African Cup of Nations coming from FIFA. Meanwhile, still talk about the African Cup of Nations ahead of competition getting underway in just about 10 days or so from now. Former Congo DR head coach Florent Ibenge has described Nigeria's accusation that the Leopards used voodoo to influence last month's 2026 African Cup, 2026 World Cup qualifier playoff as complete nonsense. Do you agree with Ibenge that the Nigeria's win, Congo DR's win over Nigeria was assisted by voodoo, or was not assisted by voodoo?
I think I told the line of the Congo DR. It is completely nonsense to say that voodoo was used. Voodoo has no place in football. If it had place in football, maybe DR Congo would have won about 10 African Cup of Nations by now. All right. So I think such accusation hold no water at all. We had the opportunity to have killed off the game. Won it at 90 minutes time without even going for the extra time, not to talk of penalty shootout. We failed to do the needful, and the coach is coming to talk about voodoo. I don't believe in that perception. I'm not a proponent of that ideology of voodoo in football. So I think the DR Congo side, they are correct, coming out clear to say that it doesn't hold water at all.
No voodoo in the football, and a claim by Eric Shaw, the head coach of the Super Eagles of Nigeria, completely described as nonsense there by his counterpart, the former head coach of the Congolese national side. Meanwhile, still looking at the performances of the national team players, 4 Nigerian players have earned places in the annual ranking of the 100 best female footballers in the world. This award is coming up any moment soon, but goalkeeper Chiamaka Nnadozie and, of course, Rashida Ajibade, some of the top 2 Nigerians listed for this award. Can they make inroads?
Yeah, definitely they can.
Don't forget there's Monday Esther as well, and Monday Gift and Esther Okoronkwo on that top 100 set to be awarded.
I think they truly deserve to be among the top 100. Talking about the goalkeeper, Chiamaka Nnadozie, though she missed out in last year's 2024, but this time around, take a look at her performance for her club side, Paris FC, before moving to Brighton Women. Then you take a look at her performance in the last Women African Cup of Nations. She truly deserves to be there. Rashida Ajibade has been very influential and very key for the Super Falcons as for her club side as well. You talk about Gift Monday, another rising star who is also holding her own. And for Esther Okoronkwo, we saw her exploits, the last Women African Cup of Nations. She's also doing something great with her club side out there. So I think these are spot on from the organizers.
Well, we say congratulations to them for being listed, and we just hope that they will come to award position. Meanwhile, FIFA has confirmed the seeding ports for the 2026 World Cup group stage draw will host USA, Mexico, and Canada, all placed in Port 1, alongside top-ranked teams such as Argentina, Brazil, England, and Spain. For the 18 tournament will use 4 ports based on FIFA ranking. We understand the remaining 6 slots will be filled through the UEFA and, of course, intercontinental playoff. First, Mike, the draws are here and the ports are looking healthy. In Port 2, we can see Croatia, Uruguay, Morocco, and Japan, while in Port 3, there are teams like Scotland, Egypt, Norway. Port 4 contains lower-ranked nations like that will include all the playoff winners as well. 4 European teams and 2 intercontinental teams will secure the final qualifications by March next year. FIFA getting ready for the 2026 World Cup.
Definitely, and they start with the draw, which comes up today, and the President of the United States, President Donald Trump, will be there to witness this particular one. So I think FIFA just laying the foundation, setting the tone for what promises to be one of the greatest sporting fiesta in the world, because it is an expanded edition of the World Cup, the first time where we'll be having 48 teams appearing. It's just disappointing that Nigeria will not be part of this history-making one, but then FIFA, they are making the arrangement to ensure that everything goes well. And for Port 1, 2, 3, it is quite expected, especially in Port 1, you expect the host countries and top, nations such as Brazil, Argentina, and the rest to be in the Port 1. And this is to also avoid some of these top teams meeting each other. But then the teams that will bear the consequence of meeting these big teams are the lower ranked teams, which are found in Port 4. And of course, you know that the rankings, is very key to determine how, the pot is being split. So I think FIFA, they are on time, making sure that everything goes smoothly. They are laying their groundwork.
Draws for the FIFA World Cup coming up next year is, being up, because in the next few hours from now, teams at the World Cup will know their opponents, and bearing the ones that will qualify from the qualifiers in March, all the other teams will know their opponents today. Top teams, managers from these countries are already at the venue of the draws.
Yeah, definitely, expectedly. They should be there to witness everything by themselves. So I think they should have been there at the venue even before now. Some started traveling since 3 days ago, especially for those that have qualified for the World Cup, and then top FIFA delegates as well.
Well, let's get to football in Europe now, and the Premier League was in action last night. Manchester United up against West Ham. 2 minutes to 90, we saw Manchester United drop 2 points from an available 3, which they had gotten up till the 88th minute. Then a lost first goal in 19 months saw them lead, but they failed to hold on up till the 88th minute. They did that, but they couldn't in the last 2 minutes of that encounter, and they dropped 2 points. Manchester United at defensive frailties.
That has been the case with Manchester United. Quite disappointing. They had to, drop 2 points. Especially when there were already joy from the side of their fans, especially that game heading to the last minute. Lack of concentration, defensive lapses.
It was a long ball. The defender should have taken care of it.
Definitely, so I think it's quite a disappointing one for Manchester United. I should have taken them to 5th position if they had hold on. But then West Ham, a very, poor West Ham for this season, coming back at the dead to snatch a very vital point against Manchester United. I think United should be licking their wounds right now for that costly mistake.
They should have been 5th place if they have won all 3 points last night, but now they are 8th place on the table. This is December. It's looking like Manchester United will not get into top European position by the end of the season.
I will just wait and see. There are still about 3 or 2 English Premier League matches before December comes to an end. Today is 5th, so we still have about 3 English Premier League matches before the month rather, come to elapse. So we'll just wait and see if they can. But then with this kind of sloppy performance and defensive frailty, I doubt if they can be there at the end of December.
Manchester United and the manager of the team, Amorim, is not happy at all with the quality of defending on his side.
Definitely, but then he should not be happy about himself, all right? Because these are things you need to do in training. You need to, inject that philosophy. You need to let the defender what to do, especially when a game is about ending. Game management is key. Sometimes you might just be winning 2-0, heading to 85th minute. If you don't know how to manage the game, I can tell you that you lose all points, because we've seen team coming back from the dead to score late goals, to snatch away points, either a point or 3 points. So I think he should have himself to blame and not anybody.
Well, talk about the Premier League in England and Manchester United looking at not qualifying for the top European positions, but we still have a couple of matches to go. Can they make better of it? Fingers are all crossed. Meanwhile, later tonight, there will be action in the La Liga in Spain. Real Oviedo will take on Mallorca in one of the fixtures coming up at 9 p.m. Nigerian time. Then across, still in Europe, in Germany, Bundesliga will see Mainz 05 take on Borussia Mönchengladbach. While in the Ligue 1 in France, Brest will take on AS Monaco. Same League 1, Lille will take on Marseille in a must-watch for me. What do you make of this encounter across Europe? There is no match in the Premiership because of the midweek matches.
Yeah, I think top 5 leagues in Europe, is going to be on fire this weekend, starting from today. Real Oviedo against Mallorca. I think it's a clash of 2 mid-table teams who are struggling to see how to stay afloat. So I think there will be no much to expect from there. But then Lyon against Marseille, I think that is where the big action will be in the French Ligue 1, because we've seen Marseille blowing hot and cold. Sometimes you expect them to win and they go all the way to drop point. But then for Lille, they've also been pushing so hard. So I think it's going to be a difficult game for these 2 sides, but then we'll just keep our fingers crossed and hope to see the best of football tonight.
If you're a follower of the Premiership in England, don't worry. Matches are not taking place tonight, but tomorrow there will be a lot of fixtures. And of course, the star match for tomorrow in the Premiership in England will be Aston Villa versus Arsenal encounter. This will be interesting. Former coach of the team taking on Mikel Arteta. Talk about Mr. Ibni.
I think for Unai Emery, some folks, colleagues in the Eastern, they will say it's this Unai Emery, meaning that their father has won. Is he going to go with that nomenclature tomorrow to get all 3 points? I think it's a very sensitive game, especially for the Arsenal point of view, because this same Aston Villa, last season dealt a big blow on the title hope of Arsenal, especially at the time where it was about 3 games remaining to go. Arsenal, stuttered. They flopped at their home ground, allowing Aston Villa to beat them at the Emirates, and that crashed their title, quest. So I think this should be in the mind of Arsenal, Mikel Arteta, to know that this Aston Villa side could be very dangerous whenever they meet a top opponent in the Premier League. But then I hope with the form of Mikel Arteta's boys, they can go all the way to gun down the Aston Villa side come tomorrow.
Same Saturday, there will be the encounter between Manchester City and Sunderland. Manchester City tried to close in on Arsenal, but Sunderland, so far this season, has demonstrated that they can hurt the big sides.
Definitely. I think there is only one big team that have beaten this Sunderland side so far this year. I think that is Manchester United. They've been getting vital draws and win against some of the top teams, in the English Premier League. They beat Chelsea, drew against Liverpool and some other top teams out there. So it's a game that Pep Guardiola needs to be very wary about the danger posed by this Sunderland side. So we just wait and see if Pep Guardiola can continue with the chase, for Arsenal if they get all 3 points.
And that'll be it. Don't forget, we'll be back at 6 p.m. Nigerian time. Our focus then will be on the draws, the FIFA World Cup draws. Yes, matches coming up in the United States of America, Canada, and Mexico. The draws will be made later today in the United States of Washington, the United States of America. And we'll keep our eyes on it and, of course, report them for you as well. Until then, remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Always, always enjoy here on Atlantic Television Network.